Welcome to my house. My house is filled with these white plastic builder grade cereal box sounding doors. They're everywhere in my house and I can't stand them. And this one that I have to look at every day for my office finally pushed me over to the edge. So today we're taking this builder grade bathroom door, the one room that needs privacy the most, and replacing it with a solid cherry door that looks and sounds like real craftsmanship. By the end of this video, this sad plastic flap becomes a real door, the kind that actually deserves hinges. Because if there's one place you don't want to hear or be heard, it's the bathroom. So, after that dramatic trash toss, turns out I actually need this piece of garbage to steal all its measurements first. I need to record the hinge and latch locations, the door thickness, height, and width so I can mill my rough lumber to the proper sizes. Good thing trash day isn't until Friday. It gives me the time to reconcile with my nemesis here. Alright, let's turn this pile of cherry into something worthy of a proper flush. Every great door starts as rough lumber, and a few questionable tool choices. First up, rough cutting to length. No need for perfection yet. Just close enough that it starts looking like a plan. You know you're in deep when your rough cut boards already look better than the original door. Now here's the problem. My joiner bed is about half the length of these 80-inch stiles, which basically means this isn't going to work. I toyed with an outbead jig, but since I'm not a NASA rocket scientist, no surprise there, I'll just use a track saw and some optimism. So instead, we'll square one clean edge with the track saw. It's fast, accurate, and way easier in a small shop. Then we take that track sawed edge to the table saw and bring it to our final width. No wrestling 80 inches of lumber across a jointer, just smart sequencing. In a small shop, it's about making your tools work together. The track saw handles the long stuff and the table saw cleans it up, and I get to keep my sanity intact. That's the trick in a small shop. Every tool must earn its keep. Who needs a 12-inch joiner if you've got a good workflow and a decent back? Well, maybe not the back part. For the wide rails, I still use a planer sled to get that first flat base. It's not glamorous, but it is consistent. Once everything's cut and flat, sticker the boards and let them breathe. Even wood needs a moment to relax after all that drama. This is where it stops being boards and starts being a door. Or a very expensive rectangle if I mess it up. But hey, that's the part of the fun. Every board's just waiting to prove you wrong. So we have lumber that's flatter than my last pancake making attempt. So we're going to talk a little bit about how we're going to put the door together. We're going to be using stub tenons and dominoes for the joinery on this door. The stub tenons will add great strength and the dominoes will handle alignment, making sure that this door can be slammed for many, many years to come. I start by marking my reference spaces, the ones you will see once the door is hung. I pencil in little triangles across each joint so I always know which piece goes where. Next, I'll cut the panel grooves. A simple pass on the table saw, keeping the grooves centered and consistent. Take your time here. These cuts need to line up perfectly during assembly. Now for the dominoes. I'm plunging this right off the reference spaces, keeping the fence locked in place. 4 mortises per rail end, too high, too low, gives me alignment and the strength that I need. Next are the stub tenons. I'm cutting clean shoulders on all the rails. That's what gives you those tight seams and clean shaker lines. Now, where the groove meets the tenon, I make sure those rail shoulders completely cover the stile grooves. If there's any gap, a light pass with a shoulder plane will fix it. Time for the first dry fit. Everything comes together. The stiles, the rails, panels, dominoes, everything. Then I clamp it up just enough to make sure that it's square. Now I check the diagonals. If they both match, the door is square. If not, this is the time to tweak it. Not when glue's running down my arm and I'm struggling to get everything clamped up. You know, I used to skip this step. I figured I'd just fit the pieces during the glue up, but that always turned into a glue-covered wrestling match. Now, I dry fit everything first and then the final assembly goes smooth as butter. Dry fits save headaches. Think of it as a dress rehearsal before the glue chaos begins. In advance, you need a trusted source for tools and hardwoods. That source is today's sponsor, WTB Woodworking. Whether you need tools, hardwoods, advice, just want to browse, WTB Woodworking is the place for you to be. My go-to, today's sponsor, William T. Burkle of WTB Woodworking, right here in Huntington Valley, Pennsylvania. WTB opened their new store just a year ago, and they've exploded in the woodworking community. His showroom is packed with the top brands: Powermatic, Jet, Lamello, Mafel, Microjig, Craig, and Festool. Everything from planers and joiners to miter saws. And right next door, a full warehouse of hardwoods and slabs: ash, cherry, curly maple, walnut, plus sheet goods like bolted birch, cherry veneer, and that super light foam core plywood that won't break your back. Bill Burkle has a new giveaway for 2026. It's a package worth over $900. The giveaway will take place on February 21st, 2026 at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Go to WTBwoodworking.com/giveaway to enter. Check out WTB Woodworking, 390 Pike Road, Unit 2, Huntington Valley, Pennsylvania. Or shop online and earn Burkle Bucks with every dollar you spend. The dry fit looks good. Now comes the part where most people ruin their projects, but I'm not most people. I am going to pre-finish these panels before glue up. Why? Because this door is going into a bathroom. It's going to see steam, humidity, and the occasional oops splash. And cherry needs to be protected from day one. This step helps keep the moisture out, the glue lines sharp, and future you happy. First up, surface prep. I sand everything to 150, then 180, and finish with 220 grit on the show faces. I'm not rounding over these crisp shaker edges. That's what makes the style. But I'll break the sharp corners just enough so nobody catches a splinter when they slam this thing shut. Ask me how I learned that one. This is the quiet part of woodworking, where you question all your life choices until the grain pops and makes it worthwhile again. I start with the panels. I finish all the sides and the edges. They're the moisture magnets of the door, and sealing them now keeps them stable later. Before I go any further, I tape off all the mortises and tenons. You don't want finish where the glue needs to grab. Clean wood on wood contact. That's where the strength comes from. Glue and finish don't mix, like oil and your in-laws. Time for the glue up, and this is where things can go sideways fast if you're not ready. Now here's the trick. Glue only where wood meets wood. I start with one style, add the rails, and then drop in the finished panels. You see here where all my careful planning goes awry. I'm gluing the middle rail to both styles, which is something I really don't want to do, because if I leave it like this, the glue will set up and I won't be able to spread the two styles to get the other two end rails in. Off camera, I unassembled it before the glue set up, wiped the glue clean on the second rail, and started my plan again. After correcting my boo-boo, I glued in the bottom rail. Then I repeated the same operation on the top rail. Off camera, I slid the first set of panels into my grooves, added the middle style, and then the second set of panels. None of these parts got glue. I wanted them to be able to expand and contract with changes in humidity. Now, we can complete the assembly. Once everything is tight and true, I will let the door sit in the clamps overnight to cure. You know, glue-ups used to be panic mode for me. Now they're my favorite part. I like just watching it all come together. Okay, it's time to apply some finish. The finish I'm using for the door is an oil and turpentine finish. I learned this formula for the finish from Eric Curtis, and it looks great on cherry. For the first coat, I wipe it on thin because I'm not trying to build thickness here, just sealing the fiber so the next coat lays down smooth. Once that first coat cures, I varnish it lightly with a blue pad, just enough to knock down the grain. This step is fast, but it makes the second coat look like glass. Then I apply the second coat for that satin sheen I like. On the styles, the parts that can handle the most, I might sneak in a third coat just for durability. Cherry darkens naturally over time. You don't need stain, just patience. It's like a fine wine, aging right there on the hinges. And the smell? That's when you know it's woodworking, not just dust collection. For the latch, I transfer the bore center and the back set from the old door. Using a Forstner bit, I start cutting the latch hole almost all the way through. But I stop and flip the door over and then continue the hole to prevent blowout. Blowout would really ruin my day at this point of the project. Next, I drill the bolt hole. I drill slow and steady and straight because I want to make sure the door will actually latch. Okay, next is the latch plate. After transferring the measurements from the old door, I use a small router with a bit set to the thickness of the latch plate and then hog out most of the material. Then I use a chisel to clean it up. A good sharp chisel makes this part easy. Hinge mortises should sit perfectly flush. This is fussy work. The difference between a pro fit and a door slap regret. Once again, using the measurements from the old door, I used a router and a chisel to clear the material for the 3 hinges. Once that's done, it's time to install the hardware and see if the door will hang properly. Wish me luck. Well, here she is in all her glory, installed and looking pretty. The daily payoff, you'll feel it every time you use the bathroom. The weight of the door, the sound of the click, and that warm cherry glow that just gets richer over time. You know what's funny? People spend thousands of dollars on tile and fancy fixtures, but they leave these cereal box builder grade doors in place. This $500 upgrade changes the whole room. The way it feels, the way it looks, and the way it sounds. So this project ran me about 500 bucks between the lumber, the finish, the hardware, and all the little things. And yes, that's more than a hollow core door. But this one's going to outlast the house. Skill, time, and care. That's what we're really building here. So that's one less cereal box door out of my house. And it's a reminder that craftsmanship never goes out of style. I have a few more home improvement builds coming, and some of them might not go this smoothly. So hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one.